Okay. It is a little bit past 8 p.m. on Wednesday, the 24th of May. So that means that we are right about 28, 22 hours removed from game four of the Celtics and the Heat. And at this point in my Celtics journey, I have to come forward and say that at this point, I don't really know what to think. First of all, before I keep going, welcome to the channel. If you are new here, please subscribe, like the video, share the video, all that stuff. You guys know what to do. This is obviously going to be a little bit different than normal. I normally do a podcast every week. I got to be honest with you guys, at this point, I don't think I'm going to be able to do one just because my schedule is just crazy. So I wanted to at least give you guys something to sink your teeth into a little bit for content purposes, obviously, on this channel. Um, I don't really know where I am in terms of my Celtics pride. Um, because I think what I talked about last time I spoke about the Celtics, which was the last podcast I did, I basically said that I thought the Heat would win in five before the series started, and obviously that is still a possibility as of right now. But when the Celtics, first of all, lost the first two games at home, I was completely shocked. Now, I wasn't necessarily shocked at how they lost, just because, the Heat have won so many close games this year. I think the stat was like 38 clutch time wins or something for the Heat this year. Just something absurd. And by that, I mean, the clutch time is basically considered to be 5 points or less and 5 minutes or less left in the game. That's a clutch time game, and they have won 38 of those games this year, which is just insane considering I think they won 44 games in the regular season, and then obviously they've won now 11 games in the postseason. So you put that together, it's 55 wins. It's still 38 or 39 wins out of 55 that easily could have at some point been losses. So that's amazing. And that's not even to say, the couple that they did lose, maybe if they had won those, where would they be? But either way, I wasn't necessarily surprised at how the Celtics lost if they were going to lose games, just because the Heat just come back all the time, and they've had all these comeback wins in the postseason and in the regular season, and that's just what they do. So that didn't surprise me necessarily, but what did surprise me is the fact that it happened both nights at home in Boston. Like I can understand maybe game one they surprise you a little because you're not used to that much fight from another team because you just got done playing the 76ers, who, let's be honest, didn't have much fight in them by game six, really. Maybe I can understand it maybe surprising you for one game, but then after that, after the first game, you let it happen again. It's like that old saying, fool me once, it's on me. Excuse me, I already said it wrong. Fool me once, it's on you. Fool me twice, it's on me. Like that's kind of how that goes. Even though I screwed it up the first time, but you guys get the point. Like the Celtics, it's like, okay, maybe they got ambushed a little bit the first night. I'm not willing to accept it necessarily, but like I can at least hear that logic. But then the second time it happens in two games in a row, both at home, like now there should be no excuses at this point. There should have been no excuses the first time because that's what they do, and also you faced them last year and 2 years ago. So this is the third time in 4 years you played them in the Eastern Conference Finals. So you should know what you're playing at this point. You should know who you're going up against at this point. But it didn't happen. And I thought maybe the Celtics would come out in game three and show some fight. And I mean, it was the opposite. I mean, anybody who watched that game will tell you the Celtics looked like they quit. They didn't care. They knew they were going to lose and they were going to do nothing about it. Um, I mean, guys were just running around shooting threes all day. Jimmy Butler did whatever he wanted. Bam Adebayo did whatever he wanted. Everybody really did whatever they wanted. Caleb Martin dropped like, I don't know, 96 points or whatever. I don't know anymore. So when I saw that game 3, and then I realized that now the Celtics are down 3-0 in the series. You have to beat a Jimmy Butler-led Heat team 4 times in a row to advance to the finals, which that in and of itself is daunting and probably impossible just because of the nature of Jimmy Butler as a person. Jimmy Butler just refuses to lose oftentimes, so all it's going to take is one of those games and it's over. One game like game 4, I think, game 3, game 4. I forget which one it was, against Milwaukee, where he just dropped like 56 and wouldn't miss. And they were down like 15 points in the fourth quarter, and he just wouldn't miss and wouldn't let them lose. And they came back and won that game. Like, all it's going to take is one of those, and you're done. Your season's over. So, that in and of itself is impossible. But then you even think about it, and it's like, if you even dare at this point to think the Celtics still have a chance to win the finals, you're going to have to face Denver, who just got done sweeping the Lakers and now get 9 days of rest between or 10 days of rest, whatever it is, between game 4 and then the first game of the finals. So now you've got 10 days to rest, recuperate, and prepare for whoever your opponent's going to be. Whether it's Miami, whether it somehow ends up being Boston, it won't be, but, regardless, if, again, you have the stones to say Boston still has a chance to win the finals, then, Denver gets 10 days rest to prepare for you and to recuperate, and you basically have to jump on a plane. I'm pretty sure Denver had the better record between any of the 3 teams left. I could be wrong on that, so maybe somebody check me on that. But I'm pretty sure you've got to jump on a plane and fly right to Denver. Basically like the next day and then play the next day. Like, there's no break for if it goes 7 games. Because that's what it's going to have to be if the Celtics are going to win the series. It's going to have to be 7 games now. So you start putting all those pieces together and you start thinking like, oh God, like this is impossible. There's no way it's going to happen. And I think the stat is 0-53 or 0-153. And then that would be the record of teams that have been down 3-0 in the playoffs in NBA history. So 0 wins, like nobody's ever come back, and 153 or 158 or 100 whatever it is losses. So you put all that together and you're thinking, okay, well, all right, it's impossible. There is nothing that the Celtics can do at this point to win the series. They're done. They've shown that they're done. If they wanted even a small chance of winning this series, they would have had to come out in Game 3 and steal a win. And they didn't even put up a fight. I mean, that was the hardest thing for me is, you say you want a championship more than anything. You say that last year was embarrassing. You say that we've learned from our mistakes. We know what it takes now. And yet you come out in Game 3 in a game that you have to win, and you just roll over like a dog on its last life, and you just roll over and just basically just keel over on the side of the road. Like, that was the hardest thing for me, is hearing everything you've heard all year coming out of that camp from Boston, saying that this is our year, we have a talented team. It's the same team as the finals team last year, just with the addition of Malcolm Brogdon, and a healthy Robert Williams, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown being better this year, and Derek White being better this year, and Grant Williams being better this year, and some other role players stepping up like Sam Hauser, and guys like that, hey, we're going to be better this year. We got a better chance. We're a little more potent offensively. Still the same defensive team that we were last year, at least on paper. Obviously, didn't work out that way numbers wise, but that's all I heard. And also, we now know what it takes to get there, and we know what it's going to take to win. We're going to figure it out. Like, that's all I heard all year, and I believed it because it made sense. But not last game, but game 3, I didn't see a team that knew what it took to win. I saw a team that had known it was going to lose and folded. And, like, again, while that is very heartbreaking and you don't necessarily ever want that to happen, the thing is that that's, in at least my mind, like, part of me is like, okay, that's fine. Like, you guys don't believe you're going to win? It's not your year. You already know it. It's the Heat's year. They beat the Bucks already. Like, they basically beat the best team in the NBA already in 5 games to get here. Like, you know what? How much chance do you think you have? Okay, fine. I will then stop caring as a fan for the year. Fine. Even though it is a part of my life to sit here in front of a camera and to talk about this stuff, like, as a biased Celtics fan, like, okay, I'm good. I'm done. I can live with that. It hurts, of course. It's I mean, there's a reason why that painting is there, and there's a reason why I have a Jason Tatum shirt, and there's a reason why I have Celtics hats. Like, that basketball is probably my favorite sport. Even though I played baseball in college, it just is my favorite sport to talk about. It's my favorite sport to watch. I love it so much, and I miss it. I miss being able to play, but so it hurts a lot to stop caring because you have no chance. But in a way, it's a little bit freeing, and it's good because, like, sometimes you just don't want to have that false hope. And so for game 4, I went, okay, I'm good. I'm out. I don't need this anymore. I don't need to sit and question and wonder and strategize and think through scenarios that I would do if I was coach or if I was playing or what I think the Celtics need to focus on or get better at or who they need to focus. Like, I don't need to do any of that because now it's over and nothing matters and we're just on to next year. Whatever next year brings, whether Joe Mazzulla's back or not, whether Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still a duo or one of them gets traded. Whether or not Malcolm Brogdon, I don't even know if he's under contract next year. He might have another year on his deal. I don't know whether he comes back. What's going to happen with, Derek White? Is he going to get traded? What's going to happen with Peyton Pritchard? Although he's a little bit more of a minor, obviously, piece in this. Is Grant Williams going to come back? He's a free agent. So, like, there's all these scenarios, is there going to be extensions for Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or both? Like how's that going to work? But then they won game 4. And I am not going to sit here and say I believe that they're going to win the series. I don't. I still think it's going to be Heat in 5. I still think the Heat are going to come out in Boston and just put a hurting on us. Because last game, the Heat just played really poorly. They didn't shoot well. They didn't rebound well. Although I think they out-rebounded the Celtics, weirdly enough. They didn't move the ball very well. They turned the ball over a lot. They just didn't play with poise. They didn't play with that fire in their belly that they had. Which, I mean, that's a human thing to do when you're up 3-0. Like, I get it. But we also saw the Nuggets step on the Lakers' throat in the second half when it was getting close, and it looked like LeBron might sneak a game. And with LeBron James, if you give him hope, like, you could get buried even at his age, and even with the fact that Denver was the better team. So, we've seen LeBron beat the better team many times before. So it's, it is what it is. But for the Heat, like, I feel like they kind of They kind of lost it a little, but that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you have a bad game every once in a while. It is what it is. But for the Celtics, you won game 4. And I don't know. I don't know if the team that I saw in game 4 is ever going to happen again. Because the Celtics have this credible ability to just be so good and then immediately so bafflingly bad that it's like, it's almost like, you know, the team has 2 meals, one of 2 meals before every game, and if they have the chicken, they're going to be terrible, and if they have the steak, they're going to be great, but nobody's picked up on it. Like, it's almost like that. Like, where you just don't know what team you're going to get until they step out on the floor, and it is agonizing. Like, back in the... And I hate when people do this, but I'm going to do it here. I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here because I don't know how else to convey this point. Back in the Big 3 era with KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, we didn't win a championship. We only won 1 championship. But every year you knew what you were going to get, and the team that beat us every year had to be better than us every year. That's it. It wasn't a lack of heart. It wasn't a lack of talent. It was that team played better than we did for 4 games, and so they beat us. You know, the Heat, the Lakers, the Knicks, it didn't matter who it was. Those years, even if you lost in the end, as heartbroken as you were, you could go to bed at night thinking we gave everything we had. And with this team, if they were to have gone down in a sweep and just had folded, like, that's horrible and people should be punished and fired and traded for that. But as a fan, you can at least say, well, they never had a chance, clearly, and that just is what it is. They folded, and that's fine. I don't have to care this year anymore. Let's hope it's better next year. But for the Celtics now, there are people in Boston that now have hope. And that is what hurts the most for me. I don't have hope right now. I still think the Heat are going to win Game 5. And I'll tell you this, guys. Even if the Celtics win Game 5, unless they win by 40 or they just run Miami out of the gym, I'm still not going to have hope that they're going to win the series. As crazy as that may sound, because I know who's on the other side, and I know that no matter what we do, before we can beat the Heat, we have to go back to Miami. Now, yeah, we just beat them in Miami. That's fine. But we beat them when they weren't at their best, and they didn't necessarily feel the pressure to have to win. But if we get to Game 6, the Miami Heat have to win Game 6. Because if they don't, then that means that they have dropped 3 straight games to a team that was universally considered to have quit, lost their identity, and not wanted to be there. You've lost 3 straight games to that team, and now you have to go back to their home floor in a Game 7, where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are 5-1 in their careers in Game 7, and the only person to beat them was LeBron. That's not good odds for the Heat, because check this out. If you get to Game 7 and you were up 3-0, if the Celtics come out even remotely hot on at home, you're done. It doesn't matter how much fight you have in you. That crowd's going to be way too into it, way too fired up. I don't even know if the great Jimmy Butler and that dogged and determined Miami Heat team can overcome that. Now, you know what? If there ever was a team that could and a player that could, it's Jimmy Butler and the Heat. I will give you that 100%. And you know what? I wouldn't necessarily be shocked at all if they ended up winning Game 7 because Jimmy just decided that they weren't going to lose. I can understand that. But I will not have hope until we win Game 6. And chances are we won't even get there. To me. I really don't think that the Celtics are going to come out as on brand and as just connected as they were in Game 4. Because if the Celtics even let up a fraction of an inch, the Heat will bury them. Bury them. And I don't mean just beat them. They will put them in the ground and not think twice about it. They will shoot 55% from 3. Jimmy will drop 35. Caleb Martin will drop 25. Bam will drop 20, 11, and 7. Duncan Robinson will hit 4 threes. Kyle Lowry will hit 3 or 4 huge buckets. Kevin Love will hit a few. It will just be a slaughterhouse if you let up a fraction. And this Celtics team has this horrible habit of as soon as something even looks like it's okay, they let up just a little and they get blown out. They get run off the floor by teams that aren't as good as them. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Miami. How many times did they lose to Orlando this year because they played down to the competition or they played down to the moment? How many times did they lose to Detroit or Indiana or other non-playoff teams? Now, I love Indiana. Don't get me wrong. They have great players, but they didn't even make the playoffs. So how many times did they lose to the Bulls? The Bulls didn't make the playoffs either. They made the play-in tournament, but they lost both the games, so they didn't make the playoffs. They lost to the Bulls, I think, 2 or 3 times this year. Cleveland lost to the Knicks in the first round in 5 games or 6 games, whatever it was. And I'm pretty sure the Celtics got swept by Cleveland this year. So it's one of those things. Now, that's a good team, obviously. But the point that I'm trying to make is Celtics have this horrible habit of just letting up. And I'm so afraid that they're going to let up. But here's the horrible, heartbreaking, and anger-inducing part of the Celtics is I just don't know. Nobody does. Nobody knows which team's going to show up. All I know is that there have been 2 Game 5s for the Celtics in the playoffs, both rounds. They lost both of them, and they were both at home. So, I, Tyler Lopes, don't have much hope. And how dare you, Boston, attempt to give it to me by winning Game 4. Right now, forgive the imagery, but I've got the noose around my neck. The sheriff is calling for them to kick the stool out from under my feet so I can be hanged. And somebody just called and said, this guy might get pardoned from the governor, so we can't kill him yet. That's where my fandom is right now. Is I am now just waiting for the inevitable to happen. And I'm just waiting for that stool to be kicked out from underneath me. That's where I'm at before Game 5. Again, this is on Wednesday, May 24th. This is before Game 5 is played, and I'm hoping that I will get this out to you guys that you can all see it before Game 5. Because I don't want this series to keep going if I know they're just going to lose in the end. I don't want this series to give me hope when it's just going to be ripped away. those of you may or may not know, I'm a huge wrestling fan, and that happens so often in wrestling where you have all this hope and then it just gets ripped away. And I'm sick of that feeling. I'm sick of believing in this team that's just going to fail, find a way to fail in the end. I'm so sick of rooting for the same players every year, and they say we've gotten better, we fixed it, we figured it out, and yet every year it's the same exact mistakes. Turnovers, stupid passes, inconsistent shooting stretches, not being aggressive enough, missing key free throws down the stretch, giving up way too easily on defense, dropping games to worse teams that you should win every single year. It's the same thing. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Either take the next step to get there and win the whole thing, or blow it up and start over. I hate middle ground. I hate it. So, to all you guys at home, I don't know what's going to happen in Game 5, Game 6, Game 7, however many games there's going to be. But all I know is that if, and I'll say when, because at this present moment, the Celtics still have no chance. When the Celtics ultimately lose this series, I will be angry that they won last night. I will be furious at them spitting in our faces saying, oh no, we are the better team, see? For one night. When we all know they're the more talented team. We all know that they should be the favorites to win the finals. Although I think Denver is the favorite to win the finals at this point with how they're playing. But if you didn't play like morons for 3 games, you might actually have a chance in this series. But you didn't. You squandered it away like you've squandered everything else away, and now another year goes by where you have 2 25-year-old phenom young players that have all this experience, all this talent, and now, by all NBA standards, are 2 of the top 10 players in the league at this point on your team, plus a whole bunch of perfect role players for them, and they have done nothing. Outside of, they won a good amount of playoff games. I don't care if you've won a good amount of playoff games. Philadelphia 76ers have won a decent amount of playoff games. The Los Angeles Clippers have won a decent amount of playoff games. They haven't won anything. No one cares. All I know is that I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be very, very mad when the Celtics lose this series because I would have just wanted to be killed immediately. Just lose Game 4, tuck your tail between your legs and run. And blow the whole thing up and start over. But instead, you're giving not me yet, but you're giving Celtics fans false hope. That, hey, if the team that showed up in Game 4 shows up for the rest of the series, we might come back. Don't you dare tell me that you might come back. If you win Game 6, I'll listen. If you win Game 5, I will entertain. I will entertain the very slim prospect that it could be done. If you win Game 6, I'll listen. I will listen, and I will say, okay, you come this far, you better not lose Game 7. Oh my God. Let me tell you guys something. If they get to Game 7 and they lose at home after coming back down 3-0, you guys will have to, turn your speakers all the way down to 1 for 2 hours because I will be screaming and ranting and fuming and foaming at the mouth screaming on this podcast about how much I hate this stupid team and this stupid organization. I'll tell you that for free right now. I guess for content purposes, that'll be great for some people. But it won't be great for my blood pressure or my heart. But in the world we currently reside in as I record this, Game 5 has not even been played yet. There's a long way to go. I still don't think the Celtics are going to win Game 5. I think the series is going to be over after Thursday night or tomorrow night for right now. But anyways, that's it for me, guys. Just kind of wanted to get on here and give you guys something to chew on. And hope you guys enjoyed it. If again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like the video, share the video, follow me on Twitter, Facebook. All that's going to be in the description. Yeah, we'll just see what happens. I don't know.